Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. So first of all, welcome. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedules to come out here tonight. We've got some great information for you. Some of it will be information about each of our specific fall sports, give you some basic information, but we're also going to talk about some very important topics here that are crucial to the success of our athletic program and for the care and nurture of our kids as they experience sports at CCLS. So I'll jump to the first slide here. I'll talk about volleyball and cross country first. So with volleyball at the middle school level, our fifth graders, that's our B2 team, and our B1 team as well in sixth grade. Both of those teams are developmental. You can expect, if you're a fifth and sixth grade parent, that you're going to have 2 to 3 practices or games per week on average, playing about a 12 to 15 game schedule. Those numbers during a given week might increase if they happen to have a tournament on a weekend. But certainly with our fifth and sixth graders, the emphasis on, again, for girls who are very new to volleyball, typical that they are just starting the sport, that we're doing equal playing time. They're learning a variety of different skills in different positions. And then with our A2 level, that's at 7th and 8th grade, we have 2 teams in the developmental stage still, and 7th and 8th grade would be our A2 team. And they're going to probably bump up to like 3 to 4 practices per week and probably going to play still about a 15-game schedule. I'd like to mention that our coaches this year, our B2 coach is going to be Ashley Reinitz and also assisted by Laura Steinis. Our B1 team is being coached by Ryan McLaury and Christy Hayner. And then our A2 team is going to be coached by Olivia Williams, who's a graduate of CCLS. She's finishing up grad work at the college level right now and moved back home, and so she's jumped back in and is going to be helping out with our volleyball program. And then our A1 team, that is coached by Gretchen McGinley and also being assisted by another former player of ours, Katie Brown. And so again, super excited to have former players back in the program, giving back and looking to share their experience and expertise with our kids. A1 team will practice pretty much 4 times per week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. They're going to play about a 25 to 30 match schedule. I know that sounds like it's a huge jump, but that's due to the fact that they play a few more tournaments. But they're going to compete at the local, our city level in the Lutheran Athletic League. And then usually they will also qualify and go to our state tournament in Jefferson City. Our cross-country program, we have elementary team, K through 4. They practice twice per week. They'll be practicing on Mondays and Thursdays after school at Webster from 3:30 to 4:30. And they will have about 5 to 6 meets. There's one meet that's a 3rd through 8th grade, so depending on if they're 3rd grade or below, they could have 5 or 6. And then our 5th through 8th grade, our middle school cross-country team, they practice 3 times per week. And they are right after school here as well at Kirkwood Park. They run 7 to 8 meets. Both teams get to compete at our state cross-country meet. And then some of our runners may qualify to participate in the national meet, which is at Concordia University in Mequon. And so we've had many of our runners do very well at that meet. And so we have a bunch of coaches for our cross-country team. So our head coach is Bethany Albers, and we have Stephen Bernau, Jesse Schultz. We have Brittany Glacken and Katie Endorf helping at the elementary. And then Allison, Allison Lanou is also helping. So we have a lot of people helping. We got a lot of kids involved with cross country. And we're thankful for the expertise and the experience from Bethany and Stephen as they've really elevated our program in the last few years here. So I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Hartman, and he is going to talk about soccer. And unfortunately, we've got to share microphones here, so.
The reason for the having to switch microphones is we are streaming this right now, so it'll be recorded for anybody that was not able to attend tonight. We're going to be sending the link out so that everybody can also get to enjoy the wonderful presentation that you get to enjoy live. So as a result, we'll be sharing the mic. So sorry about that little issue. So soccer-wise, I just wanted to start with saying I am blessed that I've had the opportunity to, okay, got another laptop, it threw me off, have had the opportunity to serve as middle school principal and high school, or A1 soccer coach here at CCLS for going on my 12th year. The reason I bring that up is because CCLS started putting soccer teams together in the CYC League before I was called to serve at CCLS. So it's been going on for a while. There's reasons for that. Up on the slide, you can get a feel. Some of you are familiar with this. In K-4, it's, again, a developmental league, and roughly 8 to 10 games, depending on the amount of teams in their division. We have meetings over the summer to determine which bracketing our teams would be in within the grade level and the gender. 5th through 8th grade, it is still developmental. When I say developmental for K-4, it's to develop for athletes for middle school. That has been one of the blessed byproducts of this, starting this before I got here. I'll explain that more in a minute. Developmental 5th to 8th. You could say our A1 team is competitive, but I will also add that it's developmental because my goal as a coach is that every player leaving 8th grade here that played for me has an opportunity to make a team in high school. That's why I say developmental, and Clint would say the same thing for when he's coaching too, right? So it's always developmental at this age in my mind. Schedule-wise, middle school, depends on the team, depends on the year. We are blessed this year for the first time in 7 or 8 years. We actually have a 5th and 6th grade girls team all together in one playing in CYC. They'll have about 8 to 10 games. The Lutheran League, St. Louis Lutheran, I got one extra L in there, St. Louis, no, Lutheran Athletic League, I had it right, is area schools. The amount of games depends year to year, and the teams that other schools have. As a matter of fact, our A team, our first day of school on Friday, lost 2 games from other schools that thought they were having teams. I am now trying to gather a couple more games for them. The derivative of the development from K-4 happens to be that our A1 soccer team has been blessed that 15 out of the last 17 years, we have been city champs. That's our league tournament. We do not have a state tournament like volleyball and basketball and cross country. So that's been just a blessed byproduct of having the development that has happened. Some of the things that I want to point out are, Coach Adler is going to talk about some more of these things related to this in the future. We actually have some soccer objectives all the time. The first one is on there on purpose. Our core values are not listed in that order, but they all connect with our core values. And the first one is, this is about having fun. I don't care if you're in kindergarten or 8th grade. It should be, and it will be, about having fun. We want the kids to have fun. Soccer is an amazing game. I argued with my dad when he was alive all the time. He was a baseball coach, a basketball coach. He could not stand soccer. I'm like trying to explain to him why soccer is a much better sport than basketball. No offense, Coach Adler. But we want to instill the love of the game in our kids. Third is our community and support. You have an easy role as parents, supporting the coaches, supporting your athlete, okay? One of the things, the reason I put up community on here is one of the things that I would love to hear and see something kind of shift back prior to COVID, and I'm not throwing that out there for any reason other than to say that's kind of when it happened. We used to have parents that would coordinate at practices. One would bring a grill, one would bring hamburgers and hot dogs, one would bring buns, and the parents during practice were having a grill and having a party while the kids were practicing. That was one of the main core original intents of starting soccer in CYC before I got here, the community aspect of it. That's one of the things we want to make sure that you really understand, that is, with the having fun, a significant objective of what we want to accomplish. Christ-likeness prayer. One of the things that CYC does, Lutheran League too, is the players will get together before the game and have a group prayer. That's great. Kayla and I were talking, maybe what we'd like to see, if maybe there's somebody on the team, parent representative, that would like to maybe start initiating something after the game where the players and the parents and the coaches get together and do a prayer before you head out to the car. Something we could always use more of, right? Notice one of our objectives is not winning. I'll be honest with you. I say this with my A1 team. I could care less if we win a game. It is hard for me to say that. I've learned over the years because I'm probably more competitive than anybody in here except for Dr. Hayner. I'm competitive. I do not like to lose, but it's soccer. It's middle school. It's elementary soccer. If we win a game, that's a bonus, okay? Let's be real. It's a bonus. We're about developing. Some of the things I threw in here are just things that unfortunately have to be noted in the day and age in which we live. This is nothing that is on here because of anything that I've experienced with you, but it is things that we've experienced throughout the country, within CYC here in St. Louis. There is a shortage of referees. And you know why? Because of parents. I'm just going to say it honestly. Referees will make mistakes. Coaches will make mistakes. Unfortunately, players will make mistakes. I could probably expand that to say parents might make mistakes. I don't know. I'm a parent. Yeah, I guess I've made mistakes as a parent. All that to say, we need you to be in check. Keep yourself in check, okay? One of the things that is particularly important is to know CYC has been making a push over the last few years to engage people to want to be referees. They're starting to get more influx of people wanting to do that again. There are over 1,500, almost 2,000 soccer CYC players in St. Louis alone. There's over 400 teams that CYC is having to schedule games for. There's a limited number of fields that they can play on, and especially trying to get referees for that many teams, forever how many games that equates, is a challenge. That's just within CYC or our Lutheran League. That's not also accounting for that there's club games happening on those same days that our CYC games are happening, right? Before I move any further, I'll continue on this. It is, in my mind, sometimes I'll take the route home to Fenton, I'll drive by Soccer Park. To me, it's appalling that I have to see a sign at Gallagher's Park that says, respect the referees. I just struggle with that. Here's why I struggle with it, because my son and I back in Ohio took the course to get our referee license. Soccer is a challenging game to referee. There are several laws, they call it, in soccer that are subjective, like offsides. There's so many nuances of it, and I watched so many videos where they would actually, in training, all right, was that offsides or onside? And the ball was pinging back and forth 7 times before someone kicked it, and you had to figure out if the person who touched it and tried to score was offsides or not. It is challenging, right? The last thing we want to do is get on our refs. We need more refs. That's every sport in the country, really. All right. Before I move on, one thing I must make sure I point out to you is I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I am extremely thankful to have for the second year Rick Schmidt assisting with soccer. Rick's in the back. Wave your hand, Rick. Coaches are familiar with Rick. What you don't know is CYC, for reasons, have many stipulations and requirements that they have to put in place, for the number of teams, the number of schools. Sometimes some of the things that they're instituting put us in a bind, and we're trying to work through things all the time. Just so you know, from mid-June to August, when our kids are at home on break, Rick probably spends on average 10 hours a week doing nothing but soccer for K to 4 teams. I just want you to understand why I'm so thankful for what Rick does for our kids and our players, right? Not only that, coaches too. I've got a slide on that. This, unfortunately, is something I'm told from CYC to read directly to you because this is their statement. Sportsmanship. There will be no yelling at refs. Cheer for your team. Model proper behavior. CYC, as of 3 years ago, had to institute this ejection rule for parents, actually for coaches as well, for players too. Any adult who is ejected from a CYC game is automatically suspended from attending the next 3 games. This also goes for coaches if they are suspended. Additionally, your child will be suspended for this next game, just one for the player, but your choices, and I'm not saying yours, but parents' choices sometimes will impact the player as well. So just know that, okay? All right, what should you do during a game? Great question, I'm glad you asked. Be on time. It's tough when you're trying to get warm-ups happening and trying to figure out what your lineup is, because in CYC you got to give the ref card to the referees, or the lineup card to the referees. They need to know who's here and not. Please, please, please do not coach from the sideline. It's tough, I know. I'm a soccer parent, a soccer coach. My son is now also a soccer coach at Lutheran South. We get it. I've been on the parent sideline. I've been in the referee shoes, etc. It's hard because you're excited because all of a sudden there's something happening, there's a breakaway, and your kids are just don't yell go, go, go. They don't really understand what go, go, go means, because anytime in practice, we're never going to say just go, go, go. There's always things that we as coaches are working on. You may not have any idea what the A1 team has been working on for the last 9 days in practice to get ready for that first game. There's things that we'll put in place. There's times in the middle of the game where I will literally say, you may not go forward with the ball until you've made at least one pass backward to a teammate, and that could include the goalie. Or I might say that you may not score a goal until your team has connected 5 straight passes. Because it's developmental. I'm trying to get some things across for them about the great game of soccer and to get them ready for high school and beyond, okay? Same thing with the elementary coaches. We don't know what they've been trying to get them to work on. Like, I've had times with games where I've told the players, luckily it's times when we've been up by a larger number, that they may not score a goal unless they use their non-dominant foot. So I've had kids that will pass the ball up and they were standing right in front of the goal, a wide open goal, because they didn't want to take the shot and would rather pass it to someone else. That's fine too. So just know, you may not know what the coach is saying. I said that sometimes it confuses the players. Please do not sit or stand behind the goals. That is not a Hartman rule. That is just a general soccer rule. Especially kindergarten, I think first grade too, where they actually can have a coach back there helping the goalie. All right. What you can do, sit back and enjoy watching your kids play. It's a fun game. Cheer when appropriate. By all means, cheer for your kids. Cheer for our team. Absolutely. Got that one again. Cheer. That's a good thing. Never comment about players from the other team. I don't need to say more than that. Never comment negatively about our players or our coaches. Sometimes that's harder in the car ride home than during the game, right? Important note. I already said this. We're not in soccer to win. Here's one of the fun things that maybe you might have to consider this year. This was something we instituted when I was coaching for a club team back in Michigan. And this was a U8 team. And interestingly enough, side note, one of my son's favorite games when he was 7 years old was literally back then. Michigan had the parents behind the benches of the players, my least favorite thing ever, because you could hear all their coaching of the players on the sideline and trying to have them listen to me only. The parents were getting out of hand. It was a newer referee. He was struggling. He knows it. The parents were out of hand. He stopped the game with about 5 minutes left in the first half and said, if I hear one more word from any parent, we're going to end the game. Or we're going to pause and parents are going to have to go to the cars, excuse me. And of course, unfortunately it was one of my team's parents, the smart one, said, word. Sure enough, the referee said, you have 1 minute to clear out and be in your cars or your team forfeits. After the game, I asked my 7-year-olds what they thought that was their favorite game they ever played in, because they didn't hear a word from their parents, except for my son, who had to listen to me. So I tell you that because it's impactful, right? The lollipop rule we actually, because of this, put into effect. If you have a team representative liaison, I would suggest maybe buying a bag of lollipops and having lollipop patrol on the sidelines. If there's a parent that's kind of starting to cross that line, just gently say, here, why don't you take this and enjoy this? Maybe put that in your mouth instead of letting it be open up. Do with that what you want, but it was something that worked with our club team way back when, a long time ago, 900 years. Coaches, we were very blessed. that we have coaches that care about your children on all sports, middle school, elementary. They have taken time for your children and theirs, of course, too. We respect that. We want to be respectful of them. Playing time. While it is a try that the coaches get equal playing time for kids, it may not fully always happen that way. And it's nothing against any kid. As a matter of fact, I have had 2 conversations with parents over the last 2 years, one last year and the year before, that they were upset about the coach not playing their kid enough. Come to find out, the coach actually tried to put the kid in, and the kid didn't want to go in. Sometimes on my team, I purposefully don't like to just put people in one position only. I want them to develop in other ones. Some of them are uncomfortable with that. And sometimes I've had kids tell me, well, if you're going to put me there, coach, I'd rather just sit on the bench. I'm like, your choice. You okay? I'm okay with that if you're okay with that. So that's okay. Sometimes that stuff happens, right? That's a part of the coaching during the game, too. Most important thing is I've actually had to struggle with this as a parent. Please, 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 don't reach out to your coach within 24 hours of a game. Here is why. I can tell you from my perspective as a coach. I eat, sleep, drink, live soccer. I lose sleep at night after every game, replaying 17 times the game back in my head, where I had people, who played when, who played how much. Did I miss some people? Did I have some people out for longer than I wanted to? Whatever happened, right? So, because I know I make mistakes. So give coaches the benefit of the doubt. Give them some time. Part of that is taking some breathing and going in that prayer slide. Do some praying about your conversation. I want to stop here with this. We are all adults. Let's have a direct adult, speak the truth in love conversation with our coaches. I would rather not start this conversation with our kid unless you want to ask them a question about something in a loving way. I would rather not have the conversation be 17 texts on my social media or my text group before I talk to the coach and I wait. That does nobody any good. Talk to the coach directly, but give it some time first. Let some things settle. Let some things process. Okay? Moving on. I'm almost done. Car ride home. Really, honestly, this is something someone had to teach me. I'll tell you my story with this, unfortunately. My son was a gifted player. When my son entered kindergarten 22 years ago, we literally had a stat. Less than half of 1% of all the kindergartners playing soccer will get a college scholarship. At that time, 10 to 20% would get an academic scholarship for college. Your kid may be gifted, but the chance of them getting a college scholarship, unfortunately, are not that great, okay? So what I want you to do is simply say one thing, and I had to learn this with my son. I really enjoyed watching you play today. My son and I had to come up with a signal because one game I went over the edge of pushing him too hard. So we had to come up with a signal. If it ever happened again, all he had to do was put up a signal for me. Thankfully, we didn't have to do that, but it can happen because, like I said, I'm competitive, right? Maybe 2 or 3 questions to ask, and that's it. Ask him, what did you think about the game? How did you think you did? What did you think you did well today? What would you like to improve on and get better at? That's it. Listen to their answer. Don't critique it. Just listen to their answer and say, I really loved watching you play today. I thought you did great today. Okay, thanks for that. Moving on. Do not engage in conversations that are critical in nature of how your child played. Do not engage in conversations that are critical of any other player on the team or anybody from the other team or the coach especially. All right? Positive mindset, growth mindset. That's what we want. All right, and with that, my sermon is over. Thanks for listening. Mrs. Burke?
I think I have this. Oh, okay, yeah, it works. Okay, my name is Kayla Perk, for those of you that don't know me. My husband Doug and I have 4 kids. We have 3 kids here at CCLS and one that's a sophomore at Lutheran South High School, and I'm the community engagement coordinator here. I'm here to talk about community building and our impact as parents and coaches in our sports. Building community through sports is a shared calling. People often think community building happens in classrooms or at big events, and yes, it does, but real community is happening everywhere. On the sidelines, in the carpool line, at the concession stand, during post-game ice cream runs. Community building is not just the job of teachers or staff, it's all of ours. As parents and coaches, we are shaping the culture of our teams and the memories that our kids will carry with them. Let's start with the truth. Coaching youth sports is a lot, but it's also a ministry. It's part strategy, part chaos management, part emotional support, and part snack logistics. You're not just teaching kids how to dribble, pass, or run faster. You're teaching them how to respond to failure, how to encourage a teammate, and how to lead with humility. And here's the thing, you are discipling whether you realize it or not. Every word you speak, every reaction you have, every moment you show up, it's shaping how these kids see leadership, community, and even faith. Parents, you're discipling too. Not just your own kids, but their teammates and their classmates and their friends. They're watching how you cheer, how you support, how you treat the coach, and how you respond when things don't go your way. This is a shared calling. Coaching and parenting in youth sports is one of the most hands-on relational forms of discipleship that we have. It's not about being perfect, but it is about being intentional, because the way we show up matters, and the impact lasts far beyond the season. I want to talk about the get-to mindset. It's one of my favorite things, and it's just a shift in perspective. It's easy to fall in the mindset of, I have to coach, I have to bring snacks, I have to send the team snap message, I have to drive my kids to practice. But what if we flip that? What if we say these moments as I get to opportunities? I get to be a part of my child's world. I get to encourage their teammates. I get to help build a community where kids feel safe, supported, and known. Coaching is not just a task, it's a front row seat to growth. Cheering isn't just noise, it's an affirmation. Volunteering isn't just filling a role, it's modeling servant leadership. And when we shift from have to get to, everything changes. Our tone changes, our energy changes, and our impact deepens. And let's be honest, some of the best moments happen outside of the game. The post-practice pizza run, the spontaneous ice cream stop, that's where relationships are built, that's where kids open up, and that's where memories stick. So be intentional, send the message, make the invite. You never know which small moment will become a core memory for your child or for someone else's. I want to talk a little bit about parent reps, which is a new role. It's something that we started soft launching with track over the last couple years, and it's really intentional support that builds team culture. The parent rep role is new, but it is already making a big impact. We've seen it work beautifully within track. Jen Kaber stepped in during her son Braden's season, and Justin and Molly Phelps continuing the momentum the following year. What did they do? They supported the coach, helped with communication, coordinated end-of-season celebrations, and made sure that the coach felt appreciated. And they loved it. They felt connected, involved, and part of something meaningful. This role will look different on every team, and that is okay. The goal is the same: support the coach, celebrate the team, and help create a culture of connection. Think of the parent rep as the team's relational glue. They're not running the show, they're helping make sure that the show runs smoothly and that no one feels alone in the process. How many of us have been a part of a team where near the end of the season, one mom will pipe up and say, "Are we doing a coach's gift? Are we planning a celebration?" And then suddenly a flurry of texts and last-minute planning starts to begin. We want to move from reactive to intentional with this. Let's plan ahead, and let's make sure our coaches feel seen and appreciated. Let's celebrate our teams well. Because we get to celebrate, we get to thank our coaches, we get to build community, and when we do it with purpose, that impact is felt by everyone, especially our kids. My husband Doug has coached or helped coach many of our kids' teams. Not all of them, but when he can step in, he does. And as most of you know, juggling 4 kids with different sports and at different campuses can get challenging very quickly. His passion for it started when he was a kid himself. He has 6 kids in his family, and he watched his parents step in to coach. He still talks about his dad coaching baseball with his other friends' dads, and when he gets together with his childhood friends, they still laugh about his dad's bat, lovingly called Thumper, because he could launch balls into the outfield like a cannon. And Doug coaches today because of what he saw his dad do. That kind of legacy sticks, so think about the stories that our kids will tell one day, about the adults who showed up, who cared, and made them feel like they belonged. I want to touch a little bit on the prayer that Roy started talking about also. Prayer within our sports really sets the tone and centers our teams. In our leagues, prayer before games is not just a tradition, it's an expectation. We pray with the other team side by side as a reminder that what we're doing is bigger than competition. But prayer should not be reserved just for the game day. Coaches, we ask that you bring that same spirit into your practices. Start with prayer and invite God into every rhythm of your team. The track team sets a great example of this. I've seen it firsthand how a simple prayer at the beginning of practice shifts the tone. It brings calm, it brings focus, and it reminds everyone why we're here and who we are ultimately serving. Prayer is not about perfection, it's about presence. Encourage your athletes to lead, guide them, give them space to speak from the heart. When we pray together, we're not just building a team, we're building trust, unity, and spiritual depth. This is an expectation at CCLS because it matters. It centers us, it grounds us, and it helps us remember that our identity is not in wins or stats, but in how we love, serve, and grow together. Coaches, your leadership in this area is powerful. You're modeling what it looks like to put faith first, even in the middle of drills and game plans. I want you all to think of your team as a mini community. At CCLS, we have a really large community, but we have a lot of mini communities as such a large school. So how can we build this well? Every team is more than a group of kids playing a sport. It really is a mini community, a place where relationships are formed, character is shaped, and faith can be lived out. As parents and coaches, we help set that tone. Are we creating a culture of encouragement, connection, and care, or are we letting busyness and disconnection take over? As Royce was just talking about, at Southgate, that was one of the coolest things. When we first started here at CCLS, I remember Southgate Church, the parking lot, the grassy area just being completely filled with not only parents there watching, but also filled with families. And it was it became almost like a parent social, a family social night where people would be barbecuing. That was John Spengler's group actually that started doing that. Maybe did it before them, I'm not sure, but they would barbecue and it would literally just be a big hangout for all these parents. We need to bring things like that back to CCLS. It was such a welcoming and encouraging thing and it really brought everyone together. When our team community is strong, our kids thrive. They feel supported, they build friendships, and they learn what it means to be a part of something bigger than themselves. When our team community is weak, our kids can feel it. They notice the tension, the lack of unity, and the missed opportunities for connection. So let's be intentional, build teams that feel like a family, and let's model what it means to show up, to serve joyfully, and to love well. Thank you all for showing up and for serving, and thank you for being a part of this team, not just in name, but in heart.
Thank you, Kayla. So I'd like to touch on a question here. And before I do, I'm just going to give you a little background for those of you that don't know me. My name is Clint Adler, and I'm athletic director at CCLS. This will be my 33rd year being involved with coaching and running athletics at the middle school level. And so I'm also a parent of 4 girls, all who are athletes. And through that experience, my experience as an athlete, then as a coach, and then as a parent of athletes, I have a lot of perspective. And through all those experiences, both at all 3 levels, there are times when I got it right, and there have been times when I got it wrong. And so I share that with you because I want you to know that either when I got it right or I got it wrong, those experiences have taught me. And I want to share with you some things that when I was thinking about what to talk about this week at our meeting here, again, just an important topic that I felt that you guys need to hear. There's some things that kind of struck me. And so I start with this question here. I think a lot of people would say if they looked at sports in our society, they would say that there definitely are portions of our youth sports system that are broken. And so I've got some statistics here that maybe outline that's partially true. So this first one is, I think it's fairly well known. I think a lot of people have heard this recently. 70% of kids are dropping out of sports by age 13. That's very alarming. And why are they deciding to drop out? I think there are a number of different factors. 54% of youth injuries right now, they're due to overuse. 26% increase in ACL tears among high school athletes in the last 15 years. Is there a direct correlation to overuse? I don't know, but I don't think that's accidental. And UC Davis, their sports medicine department, did some research on overuse injuries and this rate of kids dropping out of sports. And they did a survey and with kids who decided to stop playing sports that are in this 70% category. The top 3 words that came up in their answers of why they quit sports were coaches, parents, and adults. That's a shame. And then lastly, 59% of parents in the survey taken by LendingTree said that youth sports is a financial strain on their family. Now, for a lot of us, sending our kids to a private school, to a Christian school, might be a financial strain on your family. And you do that because you see it as an investment in your kids. People could say the same thing I know about investing in youth sports. But I beg the question, if your results and your return on an investment is kids dropping out of sports, burning out, their bodies breaking down, and their athletic careers ending short of what it probably should have been, you have to ask yourself, are we getting the return on the investment that we probably desire? I think that's a good question to ask. So I guess the question is, how do we get to this point? This might be oversimplifying, but youth sports have shifted over the last 2 decades from seasonal pastimes to year-round commitments with athletes specializing in a single sport earlier and earlier. All the studies are showing that, again, this is definitely a trend, and I've seen it personally in the last 5 to 6 years. I see the pressure that parents are feeling to not only get involved in the club sports, but to do so at a level where we're forcing kids to pick a sport earlier and earlier and to specialize. Now, I'm not saying that club sports are bad. All 4 of my kids played club volleyball. They all were volleyball players, and there were some very good things that happened as a result of that. And specialization at some point is probably inevitable. The question is, when is that going to happen? So given the statistics and what we know about burnout and kids dropping out of sports and overuse injuries, why do we do it? I ran across something this week that was, again, just perfect for the answer to this question. Again, why, if parents know the pitfalls and the risks, why are we doing this to our children? There was an interview, so the guy in the picture there, his name is Greg Olsen. He was a 14-year player in the NFL. He was a star tight end for the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers. Nowadays, he's one of the leading broadcasters for Fox for the NFL, and so you might hear his voice on Sundays. But one of the other ways that he's using his voice is that he's speaking out about some of these issues that are plaguing youth sports in our country and our society. And so there happened to be a piece run in The Athletic, which is a sports news outlet, and they interviewed Greg Olsen about his thoughts on where we are with youth sports and what maybe we can do to combat some of these issues and maybe how we got here. So I just want to read to you just a couple excerpts of just some questions that he was asked and how he answered them, because I think, I think his first response here in the question he got asked, I think it's a clue to the answer of why are we doing this. So the person asked him, I saw something you said in an interview where you were talking about when the right time is to specialize your kid in just one sport. You mentioned that you didn't think parents wanted to do it at an earlier age. Now you think that they're almost forced to do that, and it's a big issue. Can you explain that? Greg's answer was this. It's probably the single greatest issue facing the world of youth sports right now. I think kids feel and families feel an extreme amount of pressure that if they don't choose a sport early, it's hard to keep up. What the kids feel is that it's very hard to walk into every season to a new sport, and compete against kids who have only been doing that sport for the last 12 months. That's causing people to go, all right, forget it. I'm only going to worry about basketball because I'm fearful of falling behind the other kids. He continues, I think the first question parents have to ask themselves is this. If your goal is only immediate short-term results, sure, the best thing is to get your kid good at one particular sport at this given moment right now. It's the easiest path. If you commit all your time, energy, and resources to being good at one thing, you will be good at 12, 13, and 14 years old, and you'll get better quicker. I think what happens to everyone is they see their kid maybe not having the same amount of success as everyone else at a lower age, and they want to rush the process. And as a result, you say, I'm going all in on basketball or baseball. And you feel good because in a moment you see your kid standing amongst his peers is better just because he's spending more time on it. But the question is his ceiling at 17 going to be as high as a singular sport kid than it would have been if he had been exposed to other sports along the way? What is the ultimate objective? Are we raising 12-year-olds to be professional athletes, or are we raising 12-year-olds to be professional people? And then he got asked one more question. This answer is a bit more brief. They asked him, when you talk to experts, what do they say? He said, I think the simplest advice from people that I've talked to that parents can do is this. Expose your kids to as many different sports and activities as humanly possible for as long as possible. That would be general rule number one. And then continue to keep the balance of learning how to compete and learning the value of winning and learning the value of failure. I like how he used that word balance. There's always balances that we've got to maintain in terms of how competitive an environment should I enter my kid into? How much time am I going to sacrifice? How much family time are we going to sacrifice as a result of the schedules that we're committing to? There's always going to be give and take. And as coaches, we're always a balance between, yes, we want to teach kids how to compete, but we want to do it in a way that they're learning how to do it where sports are still enjoyable and it doesn't become something that becomes a negative experience in their life. As far as specialization, I'm going to share just a story, my perspective with two of my kids. My second daughter, Christina, was that kid who was a very tall girl in 5th grade. She was pretty coordinated, and she picked up a volleyball and was immediately rocketing overhand serves over the net with nobody teaching her how to do it. Very quickly, within the next 2 years, she ascended to the top level of club volleyball in St. Louis. In 5th grade, she asked me, Dad, can I quit everything? Can I just play volleyball? I really am not interested in playing anything else. That's what I want to do. And I said, okay, if that's what you really want, like, all right, we'll just do volleyball. Fast forward, summer before her junior year, she's playing for a club team. She's at nationals, and she commits to Radford University in Virginia. Division I, full ride. She's got the golden ticket. She's going to play college volleyball, and she's going to have her education paid for. About a month later, her high school season starts. Starts to feel a pain in her back. Starts out as something small, gradually gets worse and worse and worse. We get to October, around the time of districts, we completely shut her down, done for the season. Following summer, she ended up having surgery, blown disc, never played. That was tough. Now, is that tied to the fact that, do I know that happened because we made her a one-sport athlete in 5th grade? I don't know, but I look at these statistics, and would she have been better off playing multiple sports? We know that research says that kids are better off physically when they're subjected to a variety of different movements rather than, again, something repetitive year-round. And so with our youngest, she also ended up being a good volleyball player, and she asked me in middle school, can I quit everything? I hate basketball. She was playing basketball at that point. Can I just do volleyball? And I said no. Now, I didn't say, no, we're going to force you to play basketball, but we persuaded her to continue to play basketball. Now, when she was in 8th grade, she was the star player on the team. When she played basketball in the winter, she was a middling bench piece, wasn't the greatest player, sometimes didn't play very much. And I think that experience was extremely valuable for her. Now, aside from the physical benefits that I think happen from multi-sport participation, it gives you different experiences and different perspectives. And again, I think for the development of them as people, the more that you can expose them to, as Greg Olson said, for as long as possible, I think that's beneficial to them. And studies and they've also, more and more college coaches are in favor of multi-sport athletes than kids who just specialize in one thing, because they see the benefits of how kids are much better equipped to excel and to compete at a high level because of the diversity of their experience. So, going back to us, what can parents do to change the tide here with, again, the trends that we see here with youth sport in America? Number one, put healthy limits on your child's activity level. Allow for rest and recovery. It's crucial that, again, that they're getting time off, they're getting either mentally, physically, in their week, they're getting time to be a kid, and again, physically, that the toll is not mounting. Encourage multiple sport participation for as long as possible, especially at younger ages. And then have regular conversations with your son or daughter about their involvement in sports. Stress the importance of fun. Encourage them to take ownership of their sports experience. This last bullet point is super important. And I will say this is something I strove to do with my daughter Christina, which was the girl that didn't get to play. I really tried to have conversations with her, because even at that point, with, again, being in athletic administration and running athletics, again, knowing that burnout even back then was a thing, I really tried to make sure that I was talking to her about her experience and making sure that she was owning it. And I didn't want her to be under the impression that she was doing this for me, even though we spent a lot of time together and we invested a lot in the process. I wanted it to be hers. The next slide here, there's a book, and I have to credit Stephen Bernau, our cross-country coach, and if you ask Kayla Perk, she'll tell you that she told me about this too, but Stephen Bernau told me about this book. It's called Raising Empowered Athletes. It is an excellent book. The author is Kirsten Jones. She is also a huge advocate for doing things right with youth sports. And I want to read just a small story that she tells that speaks to my last bullet point. Excuse me. Okay, so she's telling a story of a kid, a father that she ran into at a game, and he tells this story. Little Timmy Schultz was a natural on the golf course. Scott remembers taking him to the driving range and being amazed by how much patience, focus, and serenity he exuded, even as a young ankle biter at age 5. He was so drawn to the sport, he would gladly stand there for hours hitting balls, and much to my surprise, he was open to my coaching, so he quickly got better. I love golf, so what started off as father-son time at the driving range quickly evolved by age 6 or 7 into enrolling him into California junior golf and eventually American junior golf tournaments every weekend. The more I watched, the deeper the involvement got. Once you are traveling to all the junior tournaments, you meet the hundreds of other parents just like you. We got completely caught up in all the madness of it. All of the family's free time and vacations ended up revolving around Timmy's golf. But over time, Tim grew into a highly competitive golfer, and so much that when he was in high school, Stanford came calling. Stanford offered him a full-ride scholarship and a chance to play with the best collegiate golfers in the country. He had accepted the scholarship to Stanford, and we were thrilled to send him off to what we thought was his dream, to play golf in college. But less than a month before he was supposed to go, he came to my wife and I and said, "I can't go." We assumed he was injured or scared of leaving home, but we were not prepared for what came next. "I don't love golf," he said. "In fact, I haven't even liked it for a long time. I just got so good and I knew it made you both proud. I couldn't quit. But I can't go to Stanford, and I don't want to play anymore. And then the author asked him, so did he wind up going to college? And his answer was, yes, he ended up going to San Jose State University. He seems happy with it, but he hasn't picked up a set of clubs since he made the decision. That's a tragic story. And I'm sure that little Timmy's father wasn't intentionally putting pressure on him. In fact, I think a lot of times we don't understand how our kids are perceiving just the events and the environments and the situations that they're in. And I can tell you, there's been a bunch of times in my life where I kind of thought my kid was understanding, like, hey, I'm not putting pressure on you. All of a sudden, like, I hear from my wife, like, hey, you know, Melanie was talking to me the other day, and I'm like, wait, I haven't said anything at all. The solution to that, again, is having these regular conversations with your kids. Talk with them about how they feel about their involvement with sport. And again, make sure that you are turning over ownership to them so they feel like they're the ones in control and they're never ever caught in that slice of, boy, I feel I have to do this. I would disappoint my mom and my dad if I chose something different. It's got to be their choice. It's got to be their love. There's a lot of gray areas with all of this. It's not black and white. And whenever that's the case, I think it's important that you go back to what your values are. And here at CCLS, Mr. Hartman touched on them before. Christ-centered, people-focused, excellence-driven, future-directed. Our athletic program has to be grounded in these 4 principles. We have to live out these principles in the way that we coach and the way we parent our kids. Christ-centered, we're praying with our children. We're having conversations with them about how to model Christ as competitors and as teammates. People-focused, we're focused on developing them physically, emotionally, spiritually. Not being transactional in our coaching, but being transformational. Excellence-driven, we're teaching skill, we're developing skill. We're teaching them how to compete hard, play to win. We're teaching our athletes and our teams how to make the most of the abilities that God has given them. And future-directed, we're preparing our kids for future success. Not necessarily just athletically, but as people. And most importantly, it's going to be equipping our young people for service in God's kingdom. There's nothing more important than that. And yes, we've had a lot of success at CCLS with state championships and going to nationals and all those sorts of things. And those are really great things. But as Mr. Hartman said, winning is not an objective. Winning is a byproduct of when you do the important things well. And as long as we stay grounded in these things, the success will come. And obviously you have to have talent and things bounce your way. But again, the most important thing that we can do, and I know for every one of you out here, the thing you most want is for your kids to grow up to be happy, well-adjusted adults. And God's given us a pretty good guidance on how to do that in His Word. Something that's tied to our, really all 4 of those core values is something new that's coming up with our athletic program. We are introducing Fellowship of Christian Athletes. This is going to be something that's open to our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And we're planning on meeting about probably twice a month. It'll be before school. And we're still determining it'll be probably Tuesday or Thursday morning. And so we're going to hold an interest meeting on September 3rd at 3:30 for any students that might be interested in that to hear more about it. Our local FCA rep is going to lead that meeting. I met with him about a week ago, and it's going to be fantastic. I'm super excited about this because this is a program that FCA, if you don't know about FCA huddles, they're student-led. And this is an opportunity for some of our kids to be in a leadership role and for our kids to be in faith conversations with each other about what does it mean to be a Christian athlete, what does it mean to compete, but yet still maintain discipline and adherence to who we really want to be in Christ. So look for that in the Charger this week. The next 2 weeks we'll run that. And again, we'd love to see a lot of kids out potentially at our interest meeting on September 3rd. Please join me in a word of prayer as we close. Lord, we have so many blessings here at CCLS. We thank you for the gift of athletics. Guide us as parents and coaches to use our position to enrich the lives of our children, encouraging them and helping them to grow through their athletic experiences. Help us be mindful of our ultimate goal, to point them and those around us to Christ. We pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks again for coming out. Have a wonderful evening.